If you're looking to stabilize your hosting costs, Azure VMware Solution is a fantastic option because it offers 5 years of reserved instances. With us today is Hussam Hilal. He's a partner solution architect here at Microsoft. Hussam, show us a little bit of how it looks like in the Azure portal.
Thanks, Fede. So Azure VMware Solution is actually a first-party service. So if you go to the Azure portal, you'll find it there. And we click on the link there, you can see now it's loading in the Azure portal. It's very similar to any other Azure service. So you have the common things that you can see here, activity logs, IAM for access, etc., etc. You can configure like certain things in the Azure portal, including connectivity. You can even like see the clusters that you have here. And keep in mind that you can always resize, adding additional clusters or add more nodes to the existing cluster, right? So this is very specific about AVS, that this is inherits the cloud elasticity. And then if you want to also like connect to the VMware environment within the service, you can go to VMware credentials here, grab the vCenter client web URL and username and password. Same for NSXT as well. You can grab those credentials, which I'll also show you in a second how to load that through Azure Bastion. Again, there's more integration you can see here. It actually, in this demo, I have the Azure Arc enabled. So you can even see the VMs deployed inside of the vCenter environment showing in the Azure portal. More things we can see here, like the networking configurations, the segments running on AVS, DHCP, DNS, internet connectivity, all of that stuff you can actually configure here from the Azure portal or the Azure APIs, including the Azure PowerShell and CLI as well. You can even do more things, for example, configuring diagnostic settings, sending them to like log analytics workspace, or even seeing the metrics. Like if you want to see like your memory, consumption on your private cloud, you can see that actually in action. Let me show you actually how you connect to the vCenter environment inside of AVS. As I mentioned, you need to go to VMware credentials to get the credentials from there. So once you have it, typically in this environment, I have like an Azure virtual machine that has Azure Bastion enabled on it. As you can see, this is my jump box, which I'll use. It's already part of a virtual network that's connected to AVS through ExpressRoute connectivity. So when I go to my jump box, I have Bastion already enabled there. So I'm going to use Bastion to connect. I have already done the connection. So when I'm going to go directly right now to the VM. And if I go to the browser in this jump box and I click this, my favorite has the vCenter URL, and I would just log in here, you will see the vCenter portal and all the VMs here running inside of the VMware environment. Again, very similar to what people are used to when they run VMware on premises, but this time it's a managed service running in the cloud.
One thing is to hear about it, but thank you so much for showing us and walking us through it. Can you show us how a migration looks like? Maybe not step by step, but how is that process of migrating?
So as you can see, this is the vCenter portal again, and we have a virtual machine that's hosting an application running at the on-premises environment. As you can see, the AVS is the white look or the bright look, and then the on-premises is the dark theme here. So this is my VM, and as you can see, this is the IP of that VM I'm trying to migrate. And this is running a simple web app that's showing actually where the VM is running. So you can see here running on-premises VMware stack. So what we're going to do next actually is to migrate this VM very simply from the on-premises environment that we have here to the Azure VMware solution. So we use actually VMware ETCX technology to do the migrations from on-premises to AVS. So we're going to maybe skip here a little bit of the configurations part, but the goal that you can see eventually, once we start this configurations, we can click on migrate. So we are now done configuring the migration. So we click validate to check the settings. Everything looks good. So we just now click go for the migration to kick off. And as you see now, the migration actually is in progress and the VM is being transferred to the Azure VMware solution. And now we're running the last stages of the migrations. So now the migration is complete. As you can see now, the VM is running inside of Azure VMware solution. And if you try to go to the web application and refresh it, now it's showing that it's running on Azure VMware solution. That means it is successfully being migrated to the cloud.
That's great. Thank you for walking us through it. And once you're fully migrated to Azure, what are the typical things you see partners do with these new capabilities?
That's a great question, Fede. So remember that Azure VMware Solution is still like an Azure service. It integrates with all the Azure services that we have today, over 200 services. So in this demo, I'm going to show you how to integrate with Azure OpenAI. So you can see this is a VM that I have been migrated from the on-premises. So what I'm going to go and show you in this demo, basically RDP into that VM. And then from there, you can see this is a Python application consuming the Azure AI services. And in the Python configuration, you see it's pointing to the instance of the OpenAI service. And next, we're going to do the network resolution here. And you would see that actually it's using a private IP address. That means we are integrating with Azure VMware Solution and other services privately and securely within the Azure ecosystem. So I'm going to use Python here to execute my application. So as you can see, it summarized a few lows that we have here for thermodynamics and law of motion, etc., using Azure OpenAI service. And this is basically the integration that I wanted to show you today between Azure VMware Solution and our Azure AI services that we have.
Thank you again, Hussam, for showing us all the steps through migration and the benefits that go beyond the 5 years of reserved instance, but all the capabilities that Azure brings. If you want to start this journey and you think this might be the right fit for you, reach out to the DCO team at dco.microsoft.com or leave your comments below.